Another expat woman murdered in her retire early lifestyle. That's exactly what happened, and that's exactly what is happening in a lot of places that we've made a lot of videos on this subject, but this doesn't cease to just grab at me because it doesn't have to happen. It's like, how many of these do I need to keep hearing about? These women being murdered, expat women abroad. And I've made other videos talking about the differences between cultures and how different, especially North Americans, are to, say, Latin American culture, and how they perceive their place in the world and around their neighbors. In other words, Americans tend to, North Americans includes Canada, USA, they tend to be more of showing off their wealth. You see this all over social media. That's how people promote themselves, is by showing their success. Whereas in Latin America, it's a complete opposite. People know better, they just keep a low profile. We've showcased several situations where people maybe had expensive vehicles, showy vehicles, and of course you have expensive showy homes. This woman, not only did she have clearly a foreigner's home, she had a home with a pool. Now picture this, a home with a pool in the middle of a bunch of poor folks. There's already a stigma with all foreigners. You don't even have to have a home with a pool. You can just be a foreigner, and people just automatically assume things about you. Here in Mexico, I live in a Mexican neighborhood. All of my neighbors are all Mexican, and yet I see and witness how I'm treated. I'm treated differently. Because I'm the foreigner, I'm treated a certain way. I'm treated differently. It's a sort of discrimination, really, is what it is. But beyond the finances, you've got the safety and the crime issues. And there's just no end to these stories. And this woman, in her naivety, you see these stories about woman alone, but was she really alone? Did she not get some help from someone? Was she not, investigating? Clearly, she didn't get the type of information that she really needed. She only got a one-sided version of what to do, where to go, and how to do it. We help people that want to go abroad. A lot of people misunderstand our material. They think we're trying to discourage them. No, we're saying, if you're going to do it right. And this woman didn't do it right. She should have known what she was getting into, which means she would have taken a different set of precautions. But then again, there's no way to really guarantee anything at any time. Some things are just cut. They're just cut and dry. There are some areas you don't go to, and you don't do certain things, regardless whether you're a woman alone or a couple or a family. There are some things you just don't do. And we talk about those things on our channel all of the time. People in our membership area would know 100% what they're up against. This has nothing to do with the fact that it was in Ballenita, Ecuador. There was even more than one in Ballenita, Ecuador. There was an Argentinian woman, another woman alone. We had created a book to help people land in Latin America, in Cuenca, Ecuador, and anywhere else on the globe, but it doesn't have to happen. So yeah, she got some kind of assistance, she got some kind of help, but it was the wrong kind of help. And I hate to see that happen to people. So this is just so counterintuitive to the way that foreigners do things, and we're starting to see more and more stories of people that unfortunately are buying into the mainstream narrative. We've heard this kind of discussion in other fields, but it actually plays out in this field, this area of people that want to go abroad. There's just, just the idea that you're jumping out of your own culture and going into a completely different culture. And it's not only limited to the idea that, well, okay, there's more crime in Latin America, I'm going to go to Europe. There are other consequences there. Foreigners aren't understanding the consequences of the choices that they're making. It's not as simple as just, consuming mainstream content about how great your life is going to be by just moving over here, and that's all there is to it. There's always more to the story than what is being presented, and that is exactly what we help people do, is to get the complete picture and have a complete 100% understanding of what it is that people are getting into, so that they can do things in such a way to have a much better, safer, richer experience than what a lot of these people are suffering that we make videos about, like this Canadian woman that was murdered in Vallenita, Ecuador, that had a nice home with a pool in the middle of a bunch of poor folks. And then the Argentinian woman, clearly she knew Spanish, so obviously gave her a false sense of confidence, and she also didn't understand what she was getting into.
You speak Spanish really well, so were you able to talk with any of the local folks about crime at the beaches, and did you feel safe when you were there?
Yeah, when you speak the language, it's easier to meet people, and there were two mature Panamanian ladies walking, and they seemed interested in meeting us. And we always smile at them and say hello, good morning, and this opens up conversations, and people open up to you, and they genuinely wanted to warn us. So they had a genuine interest in our protection, which is very kind of them. And we really appreciate that when locals do that without us even asking them. We didn't ask them what the crime was. We were just wandering off about 100 yards out of the resort, and I just politely asked them, "Are we still in Coronado?" And she said, "Well, right now you are, but if you go a little further down, you're going to be in an unprotected, unpoliced area. And I don't recommend you go there. It's dangerous for foreigners." And she said, you could get robbed there. So, it's a wake-up call.
Even in daylight, huh?
During the day, yeah. It's a wake-up call. And she said, especially at night, don't come out here. So, we don't make this stuff up. It comes straight from the locals, and we just report it back to you because I'm sure you want to hear it.
I hope this information gets out to people, because people need to understand, and these kinds of things don't need to happen in the world. And every time I see a story like this, I'm just shaking my head. Because they don't have to happen. They don't. They can be prevented. And so what I'm seeing is that the issue of the conflict of cultures is actually boiling over. We've been talking about it for over 10 years, and it manifested itself as a safety issue with a lot of these kinds of stories. But other kinds of stories are also coming to the surface now, the kinds of stories that we have been discussing, and that these stories are confirming what we've been discussing. I mean, it's not about being vindicated or whatever. I'm just glad the information is getting out to people. And even though it has to come out, it seems, in a negative way when things come to a confrontation. It doesn't have to get that far, as I've said in other videos. It's just that sometimes when you're putting out information to help people that is not mainstream, it just isn't getting to a wide enough audience. And so what we're seeing now is the bubbling over of the conflicts of the differences in cultures, and it translates not just in safety, conflicts in safety matters, but it translates into the relationship that people have, especially North Americans, when they go to foreign cultures, the way that they are being encouraged to do in the mainstream media outlets and the mainstream retire abroad media, the way that people are encouraged to do these things, the conflict that arises from those methods is coming to a boil and to a head. And these are things we've been warning about now for over 10 years. And I hate to see it happen because it doesn't have to happen. And really our information needs to become more widespread and more mainstream. And we go even further and offer assistance to people that want to do it right. And with that said, I hope I've encouraged you to know that there's always more to the story and to seek out better ways of doing things than what you're being told. Thanks for coming to the video. Have a nice day.